Okay, so this is gonna probably be my last video on the Matrix. I'm doing the Animatrix. I'm doing Matriculated, and yeah, I just woke up, but I gotta get this done now, now or never. So Matriculated. Really interested. I guess short recap. There's these humans who are on an island. It seems like they're on an island. That they set up into a kind of trap for any sentinels that find them. And like on this island, they have this crazy like self-contained matrix where they can try to convert what they refer to as converting the sentinels. So yeah, I'll talk more as I watch the movie. But let's see. Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna start watching it. Okay. Matriculated. Zoom 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 zoom. Zoom 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 zoom. Okay, so we have a scene of the planet Earth in the future. Everything's destroyed. The sky is black, and the land is nothing but rubble and metal parts. There's a blue flame, which I presume is like what they use to kind of lure machines to the island. It's kind of like, well, what's this fire here, right? And we see this woman in her suit, and her little monkey. Her little monkey's like in this jar that I guess allows them to live on the outside world. So the woman's in her suit and she's wearing a mask. So she can't she can't breathe on the surface of the earth anymore. And actually her body's very hard and metallic, and she's got like these spikes coming out of the back of her suit, which, I mean, she looks pretty robotic. So now we're kind of seeing like a blending. The first thing we see is these humans that are, pretty, maybe like almost like cyborg looking. They look a little machine like, right? Because of the suits that they have to wear. And then the monkey's in a jar. It's kind of weird. Right, and then the monkey's eyes open up like almost exactly the same way as whatchamacallit, as like the robots when they see something, or when, right, we see like the lenses, I guess, that they use for eyes opening and closing, and the monkey's eyes do like the same exact thing. Or I don't know if it's a monkey, but it looks like a monkey, and they call it baby. And at first I thought it was like maybe like a robot too, because of the way its eyes open up. But they use this baby monkey to kind of, it can see things. I don't know, it can spot things from far away. I don't know, but there's something very, very similar about the way that the monkey's eyes open up and the robot's eyes open up too. And sure enough, the eyes open up and bam, there's two sentinels coming. There's just like these weird shapes in the water, and we see another shot of like a control room. One screen is connected apparently to the monkey's eyes, because what the monkey's looking at is coming up on the screen, and then the other screens show like the code, the matrix code. So we have like this kind of operator kind of guy. And then we see the machines come, and they're very insect like. They don't look like regular sentinels. They look like grasshoppers or anything. So yeah, they're very insect like, and they start chasing the girl that was waiting for them on the shore. So this girl in the suit was waiting for them on the shore. They don't see her right away. There's one scene where one has like some trash covering his eyes, and the other robot pulls the trash off his eyes, which is kind of like a very humane moment. It's like not very. It already kind of sets up the tone for like, oh, these robots aren't really just kind of machines, right? That was like a very human moment, which I thought was interesting. So it's already setting up the tone for like, oh, these machines aren't just machines, or there's something that's changed about the way we see these machines. We see that there's some kind of human aspect to them. And another thing that helps is that these machines have two eyes, so they don't these particular Sentinel models don't have like 800 eyes. They have 2 eyes, which kind of helps them become a little more easy, a little easier to empathize with. But yeah, so they start chasing her through this landscape, which is nothing but like electrical. Like there doesn't seem to be any kind of functionality to this landscape. It's just trash and wrecks and little bits of electricity and glowing stuff. And right, it's just, I think it's just what was designed, like not to portray some kind of actual possible future landscape, but just like a very artistic, like very, I'm not sure, maybe almost like steampunky kind of future wasteland. Thematically, it's very interesting. So we see that the robots can see through things in this, right? They can see through objects, and they can sense human beings, like presence, or like, I guess their heat or something. I'm not sure. But yeah, so the chase continues, and it just gets even more and more like stylistic. I guess I would say it's not functional. It's a very stylistic setting, and it looks really cool. It looks like, it just looks like like a maze or something. So it's already kind of setting up this feel that these humans have set up this kind of maze for the robots to go through, and it's not. I don't know if I should call it surreal or something, but it's not right. How do I explain this? Right, the setting is already kind of like getting the reader prepared for the even trippier parts later on in this film. Right, and they finally come to the base. They discovered the base, and they see that there's, you know, a good 5 humans inside the base, because the robots can see through walls. Then they drop off this little android baby, and the little android baby starts like broadcasting like a distress signal or something, which calls other sentinels to come by. And these other sentinels have a million eyes, like ridiculous amount of eyes, and they're bigger and they look a little more powerful. So these look way more menacing and harder to sympathize with than the 2 sentinels that just arrive on the island. And I think this is significant because, well, Matriculator is about converting the machines, and the machines that the focus of this piece is a certain machine that eventually does become converted, and when these machines are converted, they begin to see themselves as not the, yeah, I guess the same as us. So the difference between us and them is kind of removed. Like the separation of man and machine is removed during this matriculation process, or this conversion process. So I think it's significant that the machines that are converted in this film are also the ones with 2 eyes, which kind of make them easier. It makes it easier for the audience to get along with, to kind of root for. So the machines arrive, and they're inspecting the little baby monkey, and they don't kill the little baby monkey. So I don't know, maybe, you know, they're only trained to kill humans or something. I'm not sure. And then one finds a key, a regular key. I'm not sure what the key's all about. I'm really not sure. It's a really interesting setup, because one of the machines grabs it, finds the key on the floor, and puts it in a keyhole, opens it up, and inside there's an already converted machine waiting for them, and this one's much bigger. Right, and then this machine has green eyes as opposed to red eyes, to kind of show that it's already been converted, which is kind of, you know, it's okay, but it's a simple way of, you know, kind of differentiating them. And, you know, red is, you know, bad and green is good. Nothing too special there, I think. Bam! The machine starts to fight. So now the machines, the Sentinel machines, transform into these kind of more menacing, but also more human-looking machines. So now they have legs and arms. Before they only had legs, but when they transform, they have legs and arms. They still have 2 eyes, which is I think important. and they start fighting with one of these machines that has already been converted. And one thing that's interesting is that the machine that's already been converted will eventually loses the fight. It kills one of the sentinels, but then it gets killed by the other sentinel. And then the machine, the already converted machine, only has one eye, and it's like a tripod kind of thing. And when it gets killed, we don't really care. Like, we don't feel bad for it or anything, right? Because I think it's significantly less human looking, right? So then, as the machine, there's one victorious machine, and it's inspecting. One of the sentinels wins the fight, but one of the other sentinels got destroyed, and then the sentinel that won is kind of inspecting the body of its fallen comrade, and so we see once again that these machines aren't portrayed like as just like cold, unfeeling machines, right? There's something a little more human about them in this clip. Yeah, I'm tired. Cool. So then the girl comes out and zaps him with one of these electrical guns that makes him, I guess, not knock out or pass out. I don't know. He's unconscious. And we see that the humans have been watching from the silence all along. They start clapping. We see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 humans, and then the 6th human is the girl that's been running around. She takes off her mask and shows that finally, like, oh, now she can breathe. Now there's some kind of relief. Now that they're in their safe environment. Now as opposed to the outside world, where they're very, very unsafe and very vulnerable. In this environment, they're very safe, or they feel very safe, and it is now the machines that are vulnerable. We see the next shot is the machine, like sprawl on the ground, and it looks very, very. I mean, it still looks like a machine, but it looks very vulnerable, very human kind of like position of just like being passed out on the ground, like, its limbs just kind of limply hanging at its sides. It's a really interesting shot. It seems very vulnerable, and like as they're showing this scene, they're talking about like the possibilities of it converting. Like, do you think it'll convert? And they say, well, that's its choice to make, which shows that there's a very different attitude in this film towards the robots compared to other movies, right? They're now the machines aren't reprogrammed or transformed. Now they're converted. Now they have choices to make. Now they're seen as more individualistic, because they also mention that this machine is a good catcher. This one's particularly good, particularly smart. So we see that these humans see the machines as individuals, which is interesting. And then the next scene is like a little lab that looks like a clinic. This is some very good dialogue. I don't want to mention dialogue, but it's really good dialogue. And we see in the lab, we see a bunch of machines that presumably have already been converted, and this scientist is working on them, and I guess like repairing them, fixing them up. I'm guessing he's some kind of, he looks like a doctor for robots more than just some kind of like mechanic, right? This looks like a clinic more than like a mechanic shop. And the girl asked, like, wouldn't it be better just to reprogram them? And then the guy says, like, no, we can't make them our slaves. We have to convince them. Let them join us by choice. But then the girl says, like, well, all we're doing is really tricking them. We're making them believe that the right choice is the one we want them to make. So then the guy says, machines are tools. They're made to be used. Fine, you're right. It's their nature, which is kind of interesting, right? Like that kind of takes away a little bit of the postmodernness of this. So like when we're talking about the nature of things, but yeah. So then they talk about. So then they say like, well, yeah. So robots' nature, like a machine's nature, is to be a slave. But then the scientist says, well, that's why we can show them a better world. But the world that we show them isn't real. It doesn't matter. Now this gets very, very postmodern. Like, it doesn't matter, right? Like, we showed the world we show them isn't real. oh, it doesn't matter. And then she says, well, I'm afraid they'll figure out that we made up that thing, we made up the whole thing in our heads. And she's pointing like to one of the robots, which kind of suggests, and we find out later on, that even now all these converter robots are hooked up to like this kind of self-contained matrix, and they're living in this world that's not it's like the opposite, right? So now there's this matrix that humans control that robots can live in, and in this matrix, you know, robots and humans aren't seen as separate beings. They're seen as equals. So she's afraid that the robots are going to figure out that this world's not that world's not real. And the scientist says it doesn't matter to an artificial mind. To an artificial mind, all reality is virtual. To an artificial mind, all reality is virtual. How do they know? That the real world is not just another simulation. And then the scientist asks the girl, like, how do you know that the real world isn't just another simulation? And then the girl says, oh, I know I'm not dreaming now because I know what it feels like to be in a dream. And then the scientist says, so dreaming let you know. The scientist says, so dreaming lets you know reality exists. No, just that my mind exists. I don't know about the rest. So that was like a very postmodern moment, right, where we kind of talk about, we have like this kind of layering of realities. We know that there's the regular matrix that humans are inside of, and then they once were inside of, and now that they're in the supposedly real world. But you know, the question still persists, like, how do we know that this real world isn't just another simulation? Then there's a simulation that the humans created for the robots, and you know, the whole idea that to a virtual mind, you know, this is just as good. The simulations are just as good as any kind of physical world. So it's kind of really a blending of like, well, what's real and what's not real, right? Everything already looks surreal, like the background, the styling, the world. The world doesn't look real, it looks very stylized. So there's kind of like this blurring between like, well, which one is the real one, and why do we actually even think, why do we privilege one reality, one form of existence over another? So in the next scene we have these machines. So these people they're setting up the machine to kind of hook it up to this other to their matrix. The humans are hooking it up to their matrix, and then the monkey's not, he's asleep, but the monkey also gets hooked up to the matrix, but they refer to the monkey as like, oh, dreaming already. So this kind of fake world is also kind of seen as a dream by the humans. And they sit around the machine, and they hook themselves up to this little self-contained matrix, and it looks very much like a kind of like seance or some kind of like spiritual ritual. They all sit around the machine in a circle, and they're sitting like in that cross-legged style. I guess like they look like they're meditating. So there's something almost spiritual, there's like this very spiritual vibe to this kind of conversion ritual, which is actually just another use of the matrix. So then we see that the machine is, boom, his consciousness is taken into the matrix, and bam, you know, very trippy cinematics as it's like straight up kaleidoscope. But then boom, we see that the machine is in the matrix, in this human-made matrix, and in this human-made matrix, everyone looks a little bit different. All the humans are different colors. The machine is also golden. So annoying. Right. Okay, good. And the world is like this kind of golden temple looking thing. Some people refer to it as like very organic looking, and it's very ornate. It's got like all these different patterns and decorations on it. It looks like some kind of palace or something, right? A big golden palace, to me at least. But it also looks, the patterns also kind of look like veins or something. like, I don't know. Okay, for now we'll just refer to it as like a big golden palace with very ornate designs. And the humans are running around, they're frolicking, like, I guess that's like the best word to describe it. They're giggling, some of them are like kissing and stuff, and then the robot, he's very confused, so he goes up to the humans that are kissing, and they escape. They But they're very, very playful about it. um they're very, very playful about it. As the machine captures them and they run away, they just kind of giggle and laugh, and it seems like they're having a good time. So the humans also have like these kind of lines across their bodies, which the robot doesn't. It kind of looks like, I don't know, like their muscles or something, or like their muscles are kind of shown through their skin, kind of. So, but the machine still has its metallic exterior, and the machine it looks very confused, right? It's not just, I mean, it looks like a confused, lost human, and not so much like a machine right now. And then we see these other two humans, right? They're chasing for each other, and when they're looking for each other, when they find each other, they're very excited. They come together, and this tricked the machine into peeking his hole through peeking his head through this hole, and then he's trapped. And what happens is that as his head is trapped, his robotic metallic skin gets peeled off, and his metallic skin is yellow, but it reveals that under that skin it's like red. It's still machine parts, but they're red, so it's kind of like skin being taken off of flesh. So we just kind of see this robot get his metallic exterior removed, and we see his skin gets turned into a ball, and it starts spinning around this cylinder until finally it falls. And that's the robot's I guess metallic outer shell just kind of done away with. And then we see that these very organic looking, very like weird kind of tentacle type things, they're coming out of the robot's body, and they're green and red, and now the robot's features have changed. Its face still looks kind of similar to the way it was before. It still has two eyes with some other I don't know, eye looking things on its head, but they're not eyes because they don't glow when he's looking at things, so I don't think they're supposed to be eyes. But now he has a human body, and his flesh is also very soft, like it has like the similar patterns to the patterns that the humans have. A little bit different, but he definitely looks a lot more human now. And then we see that there's this kind of parasite thing comes out of it. The parasite is still like black and red, which kind of shows like the parasite is still represents kind of like the machine, the machine control, I guess, like, because all machines are controlled by like a greater supercomputer, right? Like that actually controls the matrix. So it's not as if machines actually like are independent. Outside in the matrix, outside in the real world, it's not as if machines are independent or anything. They're still being controlled by other computers and stuff. So whatever. So the machine drops off, like it's like kind of like the last little bit of its machine self, puts it in a jar and walks away. And now we see he's inhabiting like this human body or whatever. He walks through a door, and there's another human waiting for him, and there's kind of like it's kind of like some kind of sports field. The machine and the human are standing on either side, and the human grabs a ball, which is actually the machine's skin, right? So he grabs the ball. He's holding onto the machine's skin, which at this point the machine still wants the skin back, right? So when the human throws the skin at the machine, so remember they're starting on two different sides of like this kind of field. So the human throws the skin, and the machine sees it, and he's like, oh, that's my skin, like, and then the skin, the little ball of metallic skin kind of falls and starts bouncing around, and it speeds up, it speeds up, it speeds up, and now it's about to hit the machine, but the machine, instead of like trying to grab for it or reach for it, because right, it's his skin, he dodges out of the way, which I think it's what he's supposed to do, right? He's supposed to kind of become afraid of his own metallic exterior, right? He's supposed to find it frightening. It's disturbing to him now. It's menacing to him now. So he chases another human. The skin is not trapped inside of this cube, and another human takes the cube and runs away. And once again, we see a completely different, really trippy kind of environment. It's all squares and triangles and crystals, kind of crystal looking things, and the machine is lost. He's running around this environment, and he just looks like a lost human, like trying to find his, I guess, figure out where to go next. So it's very, I mean, right now we sympathize. We're like the robot. We don't know what the machines are doing. I mean, we don't know what the humans are doing. So we're just like the machine. We're like wondering what the hell is going on. So right now we sympathize with the machine, and these other humans are just running around frolicking. They know what they're doing, but we don't know what they're doing. Not these other machines. These other humans are just, sorry, it's early in the morning. These other humans are running around frolicking, and we don't know what they're doing. But they know. Did I say machines again? These humans are running around, right? And they're tricking this machine, right? The machine has no clue what's going on, and we don't know what's going on either. So right now we sympathize with the machine. And whatever the machine runs around, he's trying to figure out, where the hell am I going? What's going on? So, boom. He finds the cube that has his skin inside, but now the skin has transformed into like this kind of weird tree. He picks up the cube, and the door closes behind him, and now he's in a room. He's in a room where he has the cube that has his skin inside, which is like his metallic being, like his mechanical self, his I guess you could say it's his identity as a robot. He's kind of holding it in his hands, and he has the option of putting the cube down into this open slot where the little machine parasite that he removed earlier is swimming around. So he has the option of kind of giving his identity back to the machine world, back to back to being. He has the choice to go back to being a sentinel, which he does. He puts the block into a little cube, and we see the little machine parasite go in there, and the tree starts turning black, like these black lines start coming out of it, and it breaks out of the cube, and it breaks through the floor, and it starts engulfing the whole room. And we see that the machine is very menaced by it. He's very, he's afraid. He doesn't know what the hell's going on. He feels threatened. The door opens up behind him, and it's a human trying to reach out to him to help him, right? And reaches out, holds his hand out like this. The human holds his hand out like this, like, come on, I'll save you. And the machine also holds his hand out, and the machine wants to be saved. He wants to be saved from his own, mechanical, what used to be his mechanical identity, which now has become menacing to him, which now wants to consume him again. So we see that the machine is actually, he doesn't make it out in time. He's surrounded by all this black gooey, stuff. It's not very pleasant looking, and the machine is freaking out. He's struggling against his machine identity. Now he's trying to get away from his machine identity, and we see him kind of submerge in this kind of this very ugly world of it's all black, and there's little insect-looking things swimming around, and the machine's like, no, get away from me. But then the human girl, the first human girl we see, comes out. She appears, and she reaches out to him, and there's this kind of warmth and glow that replaces. So now that the machine and the girl are holding hands, the music changes. It becomes this kind of organ, oh, and and we see that the scenery, like, it lights up and it becomes this very pleasant, warm glow, as opposed to the cold, black, metallic atmosphere of the machine world. So it's very, like, warm and fuzzy. It looks like an aurora borealis or something, and we see that the machine now has kind of like something that moves around like hair. It's not hair, but it kind of moves around like hair, and it seems very pleasant, as opposed to what we just saw, which was the representation of, like, his machine identity, which was creepy, crawly, black stuff. This is like golden, glowing, flowing stuff. So there's a huge difference, right? There's a huge difference. So the machine and the girl turn into, like, these golden light balls of light, and they start flying through like this landscape of like monstrous machine things. They're all very nasty, like ridiculously nasty. Like, they're very stylish. They look like rotting zombie caterpillars or something. But the machine and the human girl are like these balls of light that kind of traverse through this landscape and make it out to a better and brighter world. So there's just all these lights, and once again it's very, very trippy. But now they're in this beautiful, pleasant, awesome color scheme place, and it's like golden and teal and purple and violet and really, really nice. And the machine is looking around, like, in wonder and awe, and he's like, wow, like, amazing. Like, he's happy. He seems pretty pleasant, right? And the girl's, like, glowing. She looks like an angel, like an angel from the Matrix. And she's smiling at the robot, at the machine, and the machine is like, he definitely looks like he's digging it. And then boom, zoom out. Now once again we zoom out, and we see that it's the machine's face. The robot in the real. So now we're in the real world again, and the machine is converted because we see that its eyes have changed from red to green. Bam! The conversion was successful. Now the robot sees anything that, like, its robotic past. It's like this kind of undesirable experience, and it's now sees humans as the providers of this new world, this new, like, awesome world of glowing warmth and beautiful colors or something. But right, an alarm goes off, and actually the machines that another group of sentinels has arrived to fight them or whatever. So they get out of the Matrix. All the humans get out of the Matrix, and bam, they look outside. Sentinels are coming, right? So, and as I mentioned before, like, these sentinels are the ones with, like, 1,000,000 eyes. That they look a lot more menacing and a lot more far from human, a lot further from being human than the machine that is the focus of this film. So the humans call upon all of their already converted machine buddies to rescue them, and then there's, like, this fight between the converted machines with green eyes and the regular sentinels with red eyes, and they're duking it out. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool fight scene. I like it. But the humans are being killed left and right, which sucks. The converted machine is still kind of, like, unaware of what's going on, so it doesn't really it doesn't start fighting. It just kind of looks around like, what in the world is going on? But the humans are fighting the sentinels, but one by one they're being killed, and the machine's just looking around. He's not doing anything, and then one of the girls says, come on, damn it, help me. And he still doesn't get it. He's still kind of like, man, what in the world is going on? But then we see that as the machine sees one sentinel holding on to, like, the limp body of the girl, we see he's like, oh hell no. He busts out his little machine pincers, grabs onto the sentinel, and kills it, and then just kind of throws it off. Bam. So now there's no sentinels left alive, just the girl, and no humans either. The girl's dying. The other the one machine who's the focus of of this clip is still here. Here we see like the dead bodies of Sentinels and the humans, and it's kind of interesting because they both look. It's kind of tragic, right? Like, well, it's tragic that the humans died for sure, but the Sentinels also look like tragic figures, especially after like we've seen this film and we realize that, you know, they're also individual. They also have like the capability of experiencing this world as like an individual self, and you know they can also be converted or convinced to think otherwise, to do things in you know, other than the way that they do them now. So now we see these machines in kind of like a different light, right? And the fact that the humans and the machines have all died, you know, in this fight, it's kind of very tragic, kind of like the way you might feel about seeing humans fight each other. You know, it's like senseless. Munashi. It's Japanese for like, it doesn't really, it's meaningless. Munashi desu. We see the baby monkey also got killed. I don't know why they killed the monkey. They didn't seem interested in the monkey before. But anyway, so the machine is looking at the body of this human girl, and he wants to kind of come back to the Matrix, right? And I mean, the machine. The one thing that's interesting is the girl walks around in her panties. I'm not sure why. Maybe this is supposed to kind of show like human sexuality and softness and playfulness, and that's supposed to be appealing to the robots too. So now the robot's kind of looking at her body, and we see that he's looking at her legs and her butt and her waist, and maybe this is kind of showing that, you know, hey, robots can get into that too. I'm not sure, but whatever. So they go back to the Matrix. They go back to the Matrix, and now it's just the two of them, and they're in this beautiful, angelic, idyllic world. It's great, but as soon as she realizes, you know, where she is, she's in the self-contained Matrix with the robot. It's just her and the robot, and she starts freaking out, and she knows that she's dying, and she's, well, we see her scream, like shake her head and scream, and then her body like disappears, because she died. So now the robot also kind of zones out of the Matrix, and you know, he's like, well, that's that. So now it's just the robot, you know, he's converted, but he has no guidance. He has no idea what he's supposed to do next. So he just goes out to the shore and to where he first saw the girl, and he just kind of looks out into the distance. I mean, we assume that the robot has no idea what he's supposed to do. Now he's not part of the machine army. Now he's, you know, on the side of humans, but there's no humans left alive, at least in the area where he's at. So what's the robot to do, you know? So now we kind of see that he's kind of lost. He lost his machine identity. He's gained this kind of new ally to the human's identity, but now there's no more humans. So now he's really, well, I mean, he's just kind of matriculated into a non-society. It's just him and on this island with no direction and no guidance. It's kind of interesting. And then the movie ends, the Animatrix. So, well, I think at least the important thing about Matriculated is that we see not just artificial intelligence, but actual machines, actual sentinels also exhibit like this kind of individuality and humanity that we haven't seen in any of the other films. And we see that the humans are trying to convert and convince and give robots the choice to join them, right? Which through manipulation and through the Matrix, but it's still not just like reprogramming, right? Like to them, like just reprogramming them would be like making them their slaves, but here they're trying to convince them. So we see that humans have also started to recognize that even sentinels can be very individual beings, individualistic beings, very, right? They have a sense of self and identity, and they don't look at them as just machines anymore, but you know, as you know, these other beings that are also of value or whatever. Also, we also see that the humans. We will see that the humans are now, they no longer like kind of privilege one reality over another, but they kind of, you know, move through the Matrix and these other virtual worlds and the real world, you know, kind of at ease. And they have different identities in each of these different existences, or at least different appearances. But they no longer privilege one world over any of the other worlds, which is also interesting, and it's also like demonstrated through this film. Like the real world can be just as trippy and like stylistic, and you know, as senseless as anything that the Matrix, you know, comes up with. So it's really interesting. Anything else? We see that, you know, the robots are can become more human-like, just like the humans can become more robot-like, especially when they have to go out into the world's surface, you know, to the planet's surface. They have to don all this special gear and equipment that, you know, we start to look like robots ourselves. So yeah, so some really interesting imagery and really interesting ideas explored in this short film. And so yeah, those are my comments. Yeah, I think I'll just end here. So those are my comments, and that's it for this time. But yeah, keep an eye out on for my next installment. All right. See you guys next class.